अस्सलामु अलैकुम। मैं ज़मीर अहमद अंसारी और आप देख रहे हैं जेड न्यूज़ फॉर यू। अर्ज यह है कि आपने अपने चैनल जेड न्यूज़ फॉर यू को अभी तक सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो सब्सक्राइब करें और साथ में दिए हुए बेल आइकन को भी दबाएं, जिससे हमारी आने वाली सभी वीडियोस के नोटिफिकेशन सबसे पहले आपको मिल सकें।
But definitely the engineering consulting business is in excess of 30,000 crores in India. But the problem is of this 30,000 crore business, a large part of this business is taken away by other than Indian companies. I mean, I'm not saying that the companies which overseas companies, multinationals, which open their office in India, like the minister was saying, the Deloitte and he was mentioning the Big Four. So like the accounting business in India was taken away by these multinationals, though we have chartered accountants by the thousands. In fact, the largest number of chartered accountants, like I was saying, it's Stadium Varghya. So today on Engineers Day, I think we are very aware of the immense numbers, but still the challenge is that within India, Indian companies owned by Indians, wealth of India is still going away because there are some errors, some missing gaps that we will try to identify in this session. Now, as we know, about 10 lakh crores of infrastructure business will happen every year in India. So that means there's a massive, huge growth in the potential, and typically 3 to 5%, it could be 7% of an infra spend is on the services. So definitely 3 to 5%. But actual bidding, like earlier panelist was mentioning, it is about less than 1% because we are undercutting the costs, we are bringing down quality, and the impact is that we are not learning and growing, but most than that, we are not coming up to international standards. So to do a good job in India is so critical before we can do a good job outside. This also came out in the panel discussion earlier. So the sense I get is that this is the time when we need to again look at how do we make sense of what is going on and how do we take the next steps. A little experience I have, having worked with the Exim Bank of India. Before that, about 25 years ago, I was on the board as representing India with the African Development Bank. I was alternate PD in the African Development Bank in 2000. And we were in a constituency with Norway, Denmark, Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, and India. And unfortunately, hardly any Indian consulting company would ever come to meet us, except for ICT. I will compliment Mr. Kapila. I first met Mr. Kapila in Africa. This is way back in 2000. But there was no other Indian consulting company. And the desire to work outside India was not there. Exim Bank had an office in Johannesburg, and they would come once in a while with the GPCL, of which Amit is the director. And GPCL visits to lobby for generally understanding for public for procurement on the multilateral projects. But that was so many years ago. But now, not only Africa but in Latin America, South Asia, you see Indian consulting companies, but still they are competing with each other rather than collaborating. So that is one of the concerns I've always had. I come from the government, I'm an IAS officer who is now retired. So I've been always seeing that Indian private sector, within India, competition is great. But when we go outside India, we, either private or public sector, should learn to collaborate and not compete in a way that takes away wealth transfer to our nation. So while competition is a great value, virtue, and the best of the Indian should compete, how do we create that best of India, the best put forward, as it were, is so critical as we increasingly globalize and touch that magic mark of a $5 trillion economy. I would like to open up the panel discussion on this on these three pillars, what are the experiences, what are the issues and challenges and doing business in a global environment with a little focus on sustainable transport. That's how the organizers have given the session. And of course, we have been joined by our other panelist, Mr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh. I welcome you, Mr. Dheeraj Singh. Are we audible to you there? Okay. So we'll come to you in a minute. So we have the panel now ready, and I think the first I will request my good friend Mr. JVL Narayana, who is Vice President of the Consulting Engineers Association of India, and also he is the Regional Director for RB. Mr. Narayana is a civil engineer, a transport planner, and with over 30 years of professional engineering and consulting experience, vast experience, a very thorough professional. In fact, this seminar today started out of his initial consultations along with SEPC. So, Mr. Narayana, how has the day been? What has been covered? What is missing from your sense? Because we don't want to repeat what already has been covered. So, we'd like you to bring in those perspectives, those missing gaps. I know there's a PowerPoint presentation you're also ready with, so you could make your remarks and then go to the PowerPoint, or maybe do the PowerPoint presentation upfront and then address. So you have about 7 to 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathur. I think I would like to go to the presentation and cover it up there.
So you want us to come to the slide?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mathur, and good afternoon, everyone. It's been, first of all, I would like to wish all of you a happy Engineers Day. It's been a fantastic day that we could organize this seminar and have a lot of insights. I would come on to the points that you mentioned about takeaways later. I represent RV Associates as Regional Director. We would like to get into the subject. Before that, I will just give you a very brief introduction about the company. We started in 1989, we are ISO certified. We're more than 3,000 people, and then we are able to lead to 500 crores turnover. We operate in 10 sectors. Today, the order book is greater than more than about 1,700 crores, and then we work with multinational funding agencies, and the footprint you see is more than 20 countries. Since inception, we have been on international. So we work in the road highways, railway, metro, water supply, a little bit of power and energy in some of the countries. So, however, we have a larger footprint, and 2,000 projects have been actually executed by our company since inception. So a great part of that is that my colleague Sneha was on the previous session. She manages the Australian business. Since last decade plus, we have been an established operation in Australia. Recently, we moved into the UK. So we are in the developing market along with the developing market. So that's a bit about our company. But then let's look at the snapshots of what experiences we have working across. So in African region, the clients actually found us in technical excellence. The collaborative approach that we have actually made that will be taught by the experts from the World Bank and ADB, that we made a good collaboration, not only on a technical perspective, but also understanding their culture, their requirement, and then delivering a very quality product in a timely manner has been a key success, which actually led to repetitive orders, which is practically in every country we had repetitive orders. So that is one of the key takeaways from our side, is to collaborate and work and deliver in a quality manner. What we have actually brought into our system is to look at innovative and sustainable solutions. And that actually integrated with the IT excellence that we developed on our own actually gave us a lot of appreciation from the client. You know what, when people talked about, integrate with your local companies, talk to them, work with them on, and then what we found was some of the countries we didn't have the local consultants to up to the standard on the technical aspect. So we have taken a model of on-job training to our local teams. We treated them as one team. That is the collaboration that we have actually made. And that actually brought a lot of client appreciation for us because, they were enhancing the capacity and, working together. The Central Asian region has difficulties. We talked about that in the morning session also. Language is one of the difficulties. But there are certain regulatory measures which have brought in change of law and things like that, halted our projects and then affected our revenues and the cash flows. And some of the countries in deployment of Indian experts have become a little bit difficult, and so we have to fight a lot to get that done. Acceptability of Indian consultants in the South Asian and Southeast Asian countries earlier was really difficult. They used to think that Indian consultants are like big brothers. We used to show a big brother attitude to them, but recent past, we have seen that their acceptability has gone because of the sheer amount of work that we are doing in the country and bringing the technology. So I think that was one of the experiences on the brighter side, I would say. But then there are challenges. It's not that everything is green, so we have challenges. And I will get on the ground to tell what are our key issues. Visas and work permits still remain a big challenge for us. And then we've talked about entry into the country, the bidding strategy, the bidding criteria still are not favorable, and then they are becoming a barrier for us to really get and participate in new geographies. Payment terms are still strict. There needs to be a lot of discussion, upfront investment by the client, and then cash flows are the clear effects of such payment terms. And then delay in payments is one of the biggest issues. We have been investing a lot of funds and we get payments later. So this is one of the key aspects. There are stringent clauses in terms of penalties and fines which are hidden and which have not actually been imposed on a direct contract terms, but they come in as an indirect penalty being added to us. So those are imposed arbitrarily, and then we have these liabilities that are increasing on us. Taxation is a big concern. People don't follow the double taxation avoidance treaties, and we have to really spend a lot of time and energy to execute them. And issue of tax deduction certificates is also a real problem. So I just try to bring in some of these issues which are teething problems that I think we can overcome these, but there's a lot of work to be done still in terms of making ourselves more efficient in that. But what I thought is that we should also bring in some points that we should highlight that we need, what support that we need from government. Of course, the visas and work permits, we need to work on that. The embassies to facilitate networking and partnerships. This is what I've seen in India when for example, the Dutch embassies or the other international embassies, they practically visit all the states and then start marketing for their companies, which probably requires a bit more focus from our side. And the embassies and the ministries can help us in various countries in terms of taxation aspects. And then Vodafone is a clear example how the Dutch embassy have fought and turns here to really get through that. And delay in payments is where we expect the Indian embassies to be really proactive. The other point that I would like to bring out here is in terms of market intelligence and the entry assistance. We need to understand what are the regulatory requirements, what are market demands, the competitive landscape, and the opportunities that are coming up. And those upfront understanding of such things would really give us a better strategy to really make our entry and then deliver the projects. So this is what actually from the government side of that, from a private sector point of view, I think there are some few points from our side which The first is that enhance business together is the slogan from our side. And then we should hunt in packs, as Mr. Mathur was mentioning. We compete against each other, but we have to look at large bids, large projects, and then we hunt in packs. And then we need to look at synergizing the strengths to enhance the technology. As mentioned in the previous session, most of the high-end projects have been done with international technology here. But I think we should synergize ourselves to improve our strength. And then private firms to come on one platform to bid on global front. And that's another thing that we were talking about. So we need to make that sort of facilitation that we need not go to the government, but then within the private sector, dialogue can start, and then we could really make that happen. I would say that skill development as a private sector, we should enhance that. We should actually look at bringing in from the grassroots level itself, thinking on innovative and sustainable solutions. And of course, we have done a lot of work in terms of integrating engineering with IT, but there is still more that we can do in terms of enhancing that. So, in the private sector, we should look at such things, and then probably that would give us a bit more in terms of what we would want to achieve from the global market. So that's from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think that was very nice, Mr. Narayana. Yes, he deserves a round of applause, because in a couple of slides we put in a lot of actionable takeaways today. That, these are key things. Many of us who are working outside India are grappling with that, and we have an expert and we have a very distinguished panelist with us here, Mr. Ashwini Sabhuji, who is the Vice President and Head, Middle East Tata Consulting Engineers. He has got more than 27 years experience and in business development, key account management, India, Middle East, and subcontinent. And with your vast background, I know the floor is yours, but you could take it from wherever you choose. But coming to maybe the Middle East, particularly where you are heading, and with a lot of opportunities opened up in the last couple of years, especially post G20, other major landmark stuff, with Africa joining, and things are happening. How do you see the future for the sector, and what would be your floor is yours?
Yeah, so before I go into the opportunity part, let me briefly share the experiences that we have seen in the region. When we talk about the key ones, challenges that we have faced, one is the localization. The region expects you to be local, and they expect the delivery teams, the engineers, the officers to be there. Your teams operating out of that country, which is one of the concerns. Then they expect you to recruit some of the local talent, which is again a challenge. Sometimes you don't find the right people, and again it's a cost to you. Then there are issues regarding partnerships. Some of the large clients in the region, they demand you to have a local partner on board with you. Unless you don't have that, they will not be awarding the contract. So at times it becomes a challenge to find the right partner who's capable, who's clean, and at the end of the day, you should be able to deliver. So that is one of the challenges. So lastly, he also mentioned about the taxation issue. This is something we have also been grappling with, especially the withholding tax. The payments are made, the taxes are withheld, and then you take ages to realize those payments, and the TDS certificates are not issued on time. So maybe that is where CPC would help us pitch in the right forum to how to realize those quickly. Coming to the point of opportunities, I think there is plenty of market in the region. If you talk about each country, UAE, Saudi, Oman, Qatar, they already have huge networks which are operating, most of them high speed, running more than 200 kilometers. They already have freight corridors, but they have huge expansion plans to increase their networks. They have plans to connect the countries. They call it FTR, they call it the BTC network. So there are plenty of opportunities on the table. Only thing is that we need to go out and explore those opportunities. And as a country, I think we have all the We have technology, we are operating on the largest railway network in the world. We also have excellent story of Vande Bharat, this whole indigenous story. So all we need to go out is go out together and offer it as a complete package wherein we do the entire thing, the concept, initial study, the execution, maybe even the supplies, maybe even the whole stock. Till now traditionally it has been coming from Japan, Korea or China. So that also can be offered as a complete package, right from conception to commissioning, and maybe at a later date also look at opportunities of running these networks on revenue sharing. So as I said, there is plenty out there in the recent GCC, G20 outcome about India, UAE, this corridor. So there's going to be opportunities in railways, freight corridors, ports, terminals. So there's plenty out there. Maybe we need to work together, consultancies come together, find out who's capable of doing what. Maybe look at opportunities as opportunities, because each opportunity is unique in itself, right? So we need to look at the competency of each partner and then maybe upfront decide and
Thanks. I think since Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh, you have also joined us virtually, we would have been delighted to have you here in person, but you joined us. So, you've been following maybe since the morning session, if not, but definitely sustainability and the whole issues around environment and how would financing happen, and with your background as the managing director in GRC India, and also you're a PhD in environmental sciences, and you're a visionary when it comes to propelling your own business to the heights it has. So you may tell us a little bit about GRC India and the context of climate and climate finance, and how do you look at, because environmental engineering, environmental sciences is also a huge business opportunity for professionals in this sector from India to get global business. And we do have a question also from an academician in the group, Professor Mehrotra of BTU, who's really asked us, is the quality standard of Indian engineering services sector below international standard, if that is so. So what are your comments on these issues? Dr. Dheeraj Kumar Singh.
Thank you, sir. And I'm out of station. Unfortunately, I am not able to participate physically, but of course, online is also a blessing to disguise. So good afternoon, namaskar, and a very warm welcome to this conclave organized by SCPC in association with Consulting Engineers Association of India, Tata Consulting Engineers, EKI, GRC India, Department of Commerce, and many other esteemed organizations. A personal thanks to the organizing committee members, our associated organizers, sponsors, and well-wishers for their timely support in organizing this conclave on a very important topic. I am Dr. Dheeraj Singh, and I represent as the Managing Director of an environment consultancy organization named Grassroots Research and Creations India Private Limited, and also known as GRC India, having its corporate office in Noida, and we have got regional offices in maximum of the capital cities. We have been in the service industry since 2006 and have been serving to our nation in the field of providing environmental impact assessment, clearances, and other NOCs required for a sustainable environment. We have done almost 6,000 projects in the field of VIA and compliance, and still going strong and committed to serve our mother earth throughout. Service industry is nowadays in itself is huge and having good enough potential to make it in the field of environment or sustainability. Services in today's world pertaining to environment include environment impact assessment, carbon trading, green credit program which is about to be launched officially in very few days. Carbon credit program which is of course few days back it got notified by Ministry of Power, etc. And many more. It's a huge market globally and across the world. We as the stakeholders have the prime responsibility of streamlining the process, as these services play a very important role in building our nation. As today existing NDC, translates the Panchamrit, which was announced at COP26, Coffee's Conference of Parties 46, and will get further discussed in COP28 into enhanced climate targets. The update is also a step toward achieving India's long-term goal of reaching net zero by 2070. As a business opportunity, we need to enter the carbon-ready sector in a big way and setting up the market in India also. As a known construction sector is responsible for 23% of greenhouse gas emissions. The time now is that the crisis is to be converted into opportunity. As a hand-holding part, we are also coming up with some environmental software tools like Green Technical Strategy Platform and Green ERP, where we will assist our stakeholders to comply with all the environmental clearance conditions, green building conditions, consent to establish, consent to operate, and other related conditions, and making our Mother Earth environment friendly and sustainable for living. There should be an interface between the conditions of environmental clearance, because environmental clearance related NOC and the Environmental Protection Act and various other acts are also so complex. It should be a simplified the project component to implement the conditions in a smooth way, rather than making it aggravated, and the project component will have an incremental strengthening of knowledge and hand-holding concomitantly, due to which a lot of environmental legal conflicts are happening through various courts. So this will be our complete hand-holding for environmental sustainability. As this conclave is about design, construction, and engineering, and today coincidentally being Engineers Day as well, is to realize that whenever we design something, we have to align them with the statutory requirement, so that there is no implication of courts and other statutory and regulatory authority, as it impacts on cost implications also. Environmental clearance and compliance go hand in hand, and also the regulatory and non-regulatory aspects have a huge potential, which need to be spread across and promoted for societal and nation development globally. Now everything is getting transparent and made available to all stakeholders. We, DRC India, as an environment consulting organization, request everyone to come up with new innovative ideas for the improvement in the environment field, and we are always available for any suggestions, ideas, and clarification. I would like to conclude by a famous saying by Winston Churchill and others: if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity, and an optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. And yes, we are all engineers, so we will definitely build the doors. There are opportunities, we build doors. I've been told by the organizers that, we should wind up, and of course, we do have one analyst not on this forum, so we could cut the time. But I would like to again go back with a few comments to my other panelists. And what really concerns me is, and I work for CEG, the Consulting Engineers Group, and we are one of the leading companies, consulting engineers, about 1,500 engineers, and working in about 14 countries, including in India, done more than 50,000 kilometers of highways, metros. We've done 350 kilometers of metros, Bombay Line 5, Line 7A, in Bangalore, in Chennai, and along with the Tata Consulting, RV, we are also partners for SPNC Civil, the entire length of the 500 kilometers high-speed rail project. So these are great marquee projects with CEG. I've been associated with them for about 2.5 years. And one of the things I've seen running a consulting business globally, trying to capture global markets, our market share overseas is growing every year. Only today we won 2 contracts, one in Timor-Leste and one in Dubai. Still the challenge is And of course, the DG service export sector would be happy to kind of note that, while Indian companies are able to win contracts overseas, it is a lot of follow-up and a lot of risks companies get exposed to. Many of those risks were captured, but the concern still is in getting high quality talent. And the kind of costings of high quality talent in India with a lot of fake CVs circulating in the market, when the QCBS route is followed increasingly by companies resorting to unethical and fictitious CVs, bringing credentials which they don't have. So I think as an association, even as the Service Export Promotion Council, the quality and the standards and the rules of the game that we consulting engineer fraternities should set up is also very important. And if we do not do that, then we are likely to get blacklisted or even hit upon if we are not able to work in tandem and in concert for the ultimate project development. So you may take on a consulting assignment, do the design, try to get into the PMC stage, but the contractor is not delivering, the consultant gets caught. So whether it is milestone-based payments or it is a turnkey, so those are challenges which will continue, and we need as a fraternity to go in more deeply and, like Mr. Narayanan said, hunt impacts. So how do we hunt impacts, Mr. Narayanan? What are your views on that? And maybe Mr. Sadhu, you could also come in, and Mr. Singh. How do we collaborate to set good standards, to be competitive, and to capture global markets, not only Africa and Asia, South Asia, but also Latin America? We've not talked about a huge opportunity there, and more so in sustainable transport. One of the big sectors would be bringing in fintech platforms to collaborate with our transport skill sets, engineering skill sets. What is the way forward, Narayan?
Thank you, sir. I think the problems that you have actually narrated are there, and then end of the day, these problems are reflecting how fragile we are in international markets. So we need to reconcile ourselves in terms of how we should be strong enough to be quite transparent and then work in an environment that we give a quality product to the clients. That's the foremost. Of course, the undercurrent in terms of what is happening, there are regulatory measures which have been put in, the RFPs and contracts actually spell out of things. But end of the day, if we have to make as an impact as an Indian company in the international market, it is about synergizing ourselves in terms of looking at strengths. The earlier speakers have also talked about it. So we need to pool ourselves in terms of what are the strengths and weaknesses. We have to, make consortia of that sort, have an internal dialogue amongst us. CEI provides such type of a platform to have open discussions, and we at CEI actually promote ethical practices. We emphasize on design and then quality. So there are platforms within the country where we could really come together, and these platforms give us a real way forward to work our strategies to, not to miss the bus, as the Honorable Minister said. If you're missing the bus, we're never there. And he said, cycle time. So we really need to look at what it is. And it is not about a small consultant or a big consultant. It is all about a fraternity. It is not about a good contractor or a small contractor or a big contractor. It is all about looking at those big projects and why can't we make that impact on those big projects by working together and having a transparent understanding in the fraternity to have good dialogue. I think that is what I think from my personal perspective is the way forward.
So I think I concur with Mr. Narayan said. The only thing I want to add is that if we want to attack projects on the global stage, partnership is the right approach. And we need to be very sure about the competence of each partner, what the partner brings on the table, capacity. Maybe at the initial stage, there is a clear demarcation of scope. The responsibilities amongst the partners so that there is no issues at the later stage. Also, maybe we should look at depending on the project whether do we need any external partner. For example, right now we are in the Middle East region. We are talking to so many people for collaborating on the construction project. So having right partners in the project, I think that is the key for success.
It's a thing.
As rightly pointed out by our co-panelists, this is an era of collaboration, and we need to garner all our efforts. And I strongly feel that in every endeavor, we should have a strong interface with our environment experts also. There are a lot of environmental implications these days in the wake of the international climate pact, or this COP26, COP28, etc. So I think we need to have a very strong interface so that we can comply with the requirements of law of land. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I know we would have enjoyed a few more questions, but we have a very interesting panel, the one after this. So with these words, I really thank my colleagues and the organizers for giving me this opportunity. It's been a delight to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I would like to now request Mr. Anuj Sharma, please come to the stage to present for the members. Mr. Yadlin Mathur. Mr. J.V.L. Narayana. Mr. Ashwani Chandra.
से रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप अपने इस यूट्यूब चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, लाइक एंड शेयर ज़रूर करें। शुक्रिया।